everyone, and welcome to another Bondex Talks. Today, we are going to be talking all things Web3 and AI, and we're going to be chatting with Nick. And Nick is definitely someone worth listening to. He's built teams inside some of the biggest crypto exchanges in the world. He's led go-to-markets for emerging tech and now runs his own AI infra startup. He spent 16 years in finance, 7 years in crypto, and he's seen what works and what doesn't at every stage. Nick isn't just a founder, he's an operator, and he knows how to spot real opportunities, take smart risks, and build for what's next. He's here to share the kind of advice you won't usually get from blog posts or Twitter threads. So please welcome Nick from AVM. Hello, Nick.
Hey, Paul, how are you doing?
Very, very good. Nick, I gave you a fantastic little hype intro there, but I'd love to hear from yourself, Nick. If you'd love to just give us a bit about yourself, kind of your journey so far in Web3, and we'll kind of kick things off.
Sure. No, thanks you. Really a pleasure to be here. Thanks for the invite. And yeah, very, very briefly about myself. My name is Nick. I think you mentioned some good insights. I am very long in finance, so since 2006. So I went through many, many stages, but the main focus is really since 2019, I would say, on crypto. And this is also how I ended up, as you say, one of the biggest exchanges at Binance, I think, which we will come later a bit more in details on this stuff. But yeah, basically, I'm an entrepreneur by heart. I was like already founder 3 times approximately, and I just love to solve problems, to get things done. And yeah, that makes it really exciting. And I think crypto is an industry where you have like a huge playground of really getting things done compared, let's say, to the, I cannot say mainstream, but let's say to the traditional world. We are used to it since decades. And yeah, here I am now. I'm deep into crypto and tech.
Awesome. I actually want to start, Nick, with your kind of journey and career, because with Bondex, we're really focused on helping people advance their career, find that next opportunity, and really help people kind of stand out. And you've had a really interesting journey so far. I'd love to kind of explain a bit about what you did at Binance and also kind of what made you kind of move from that and kind of build AVM, and maybe unpack a bit about what AVM is as well.
Yeah, sure. So let me start with the part. So actually in Binance, I ended up a bit more than 2 years ago because they basically approached me looking for somebody with a very particular expertise. And what I did actually before, what can be also then seen on my LinkedIn, for example, and then in future also on Bondex, obviously, the profile is that I was very vertical, focused on compliance IT projects. Okay, this sounds very kind of abstract, and some people would say, yeah, it's just a title, but I believe that this was also then the key point really to get to land a job, because it's not that easy to get into Binance. I saw it later internally because we're getting thousands of applications per position. And I started in banking. I shipped actually 70 projects. So I think this is one of the key factors. So there was a clear track record since 2013 of shipping projects, let's say a really record of what has been done, what has been the results, how to quantify them. So I think this is one of the key factors. And secondly, then to Binance, what I did do there. So the last position I was leading it's called compliance PMO team. So basically if you open the app of Binance itself, you can see your workflow when you apply, when you do, let's say, a lot of compliance things like KYC. If you're corporate, you do the KYB and that stuff. So this is, let's say, in the front end. Then you can imagine, like in the back end, there is a lot of things. People are reading always like regulations, scrutiny here, scrutiny there. So basically, I was in the back and really getting these things done. How we can ensure, that you can use the product without having any issues on the regulatory side. How you can really proceed in different jurisdictions without getting in any trouble. So basically, this was my main role in Binance, to really very quickly ship these projects, okay, because crypto never sleeps. So it's a 24/7.
Yeah.
So it sounds like compliance, but you are between the product, the tech team, and really the user. So you're like in a triangle of managing all this together.
You shipped 70 projects in your time there. Incredible.
Yeah, I
And
mean in Binance even more. So his 70 was before in banking. I think in Binance was, I would say, more about 200 requirements, because Binance works differently, and I think that's important to call out. Crypto companies are running very fast. So you work, rather than on strategic projects like 6 months, you work week on week. So really Monday to Monday. So you break it down in very small, very quick steps, and you just circulate them ongoing.
Interesting. So we've also got a lot of people as well, like wanting to advance their career. And I
Mm.
feel like with you, at this point, you're working for arguably one of the most well-known brands in crypto, the biggest exchange in the world. And what made you want to kind of make that jump from a pretty secure job
Mm.
to starting a new project with AVM?
Yeah, sure. So actually, yeah, I agree. It was like, you start to think about what's next, because what I can just speak from my personal experience, of course, is you start to think, okay, now I reached a stage, even let's say in the previous job at Binance, and what's next? So you ask yourself in the career, am I satisfied? Do I wake up in the morning and I see results? Do I get, let's say, the dopamine of my job in the sense, or do I just do it for the pay slip, for my comfort? And I reached a point a few months ago where I started to see, okay, I'm getting kind of a bit stuck. So, and there's been few opportunities. And I think that's important to kick yourself out really of this comfort zone. So what I did, I was starting obviously first to check within Binance, speaking with internal colleagues, speaking with HR in that case, what are the next opportunities? I would like to get more out of it. Okay, I would like to develop and I would like to contribute more. But then you don't put everything on one card, right? So you speak also with, I don't know, family, friends, and with your community, let your private, let's say, network. And this is where it led very interesting discussions on the AI narrative, right? So I was very already in AI, more as a end user to see, what I can do with AI, what I can't. And this is actually where I got in touch with also some colleagues, obviously, and we discussed, okay, what problems are major problems and how to get them solved. And this is where AVM started to be a discussion, because what we realized, so AVM briefly stands for Agent Virtual Machine. And we're saying, you start these discussions after 2 drinks and like, oh, AI will take over the world, everything will change. But then you zoom out and you took 2 steps back and say, okay, wait, let's see where is AI today and where it's heading next. And what I realized is, okay, today you go on the ChatGPTs, on Lovable, Coursera, whatever kind of front ends you use, and you ask, dear AI, give me, let's say, a code which is doing everything for me, so I can become lazy. But the interesting point was, it gives you kind of code, it gives you an app, but that's it. So you still have to do something. It's like kind of if you tell me, Paul, okay, let's cook something crazy. We put the recipe together, but then we don't go shopping and we don't really make it. And this is where AVM comes. The same happens with this AI agents. It's funny to read about them, to see, but what do they do? And this is why I took the decision, because I realized, after deep diving, okay, this is going to be huge. Okay, if people start really to manage to execute these AI agents. And this is where I made my decision and saying, okay, heck, I want to be part of this, because it's just starting. It's like, imagine you have been one of the first website creators 2000, right? Today we have websites, even apps. But if you're really in the sweet spot of something which is changing a lot of things, or the mass, it's just excited to be there. And I was very excited, and I was like, okay, Binance, fine, cool, but this is the future. And this is really where I would like to start to put the first Lego block and to continue work and develop this stuff. Yeah.
I love that framing. I feel like often when people say like where are we at with Web3, I'm like, we are at the dial-up modem stage of like, you hear the sounds, it's clunky, you got to know, like you got to have a techie to kind of help you navigate that. So I was that person in my family installing it, and like kind
Right.
of bringing people on. That's definitely where we're at. And I feel like with AI, it is maybe that first version of, okay, what does the first website look like, the first agent type thing. But help me understand a bit more. So AVM, it's actually, who's the kind of perfect user? Like, who are you kind of really helping to to problem solve for?
So actually, we are solving the problem itself for developers. So let me go back to the example. So you are, let's say, okay, let's say an end user, and you say, ChatGPT, give me a super nice code for a new game or whatever, or I would like that my emails or my let's say WhatsApp's getting automatically responded, right? So you generate this code, but then you, as let's say a normal user, you can't do it. So what you do, you engage a developer. So you search online, you check out, and you tell to a developer, okay, can you please do this for me? And this developer will maybe say, I mean, I'm just making now a fictive example, will tell you, okay, Paul, this will take 5 weeks and 10,000 bucks. Okay. And you will say, okay, fine, and then my end result. So the problem, what we saw, what we are solving, that you don't need 5 weeks and 10,000 bucks to do this, because the developer then have the headache. I mean, I don't want to get too technical, but they have a lot of steps to do to build up this app, to test it, to run it on their PC, to save the data, like doing a lot of back and forth, okay, just to bring you the end result itself. So you can compare it even with a real use example. You can tell me, okay, can you please prepare this crazy meal for me, like say this food, this dinner? So what I as a developer need to do, I need to go shopping, I need to cut everything, I need to prepare this until I get the result. Or the problem we solve is I just order it, right? And it's instantly there. So this is what AVM does. So basically it's a plug and play for a developer, that they can really make your use case real in way quicker, like way quicker. And this is actually where the sweet point is, right? You save people time, which leads consequently to save a lot of money on that front. And every developer knows this headache. Yeah.
Interesting. So kind of going back to that moment then where you've scoped out this project, you've seen this problem happening with developers of them feeling like they need to, in cooking terms, go shopping, do all this stuff, like create a whole investment of time before delivering the end product. And you're seeing, okay, there's an opportunity to build something here. What kind of signals are you looking for to kind of validate or even invalidate your decision to actually leave the comfort of, or the security, or the comfort maybe of, I'm going to get a regular paycheck, I'm going to get paid at the end of this month, I've got money coming in, I'm going to jump into this. What are the signals that you're looking for? What are the metrics maybe that you're kind of seeing to see, okay, this is a good decision?
Right. So I would split it in two things, and then I will give you, let's say, sub factors. At least this is my approach. What I would really recommend to many people is split it between personal priorities and career wise. Okay, this is important, I would say. So what I did actually, I was saying, okay, personally, if I leave Binance, what is the consequence? Okay, like no more paycheck. Do I have enough runaway? So this would be a metrics, how I'm gonna pay my bills, etc. Am I mentally ready to be without job in this security, as you're saying, this comfort zone? So no, what is my worst case scenario? Are we speaking, if I have to give a scoring, I like to put things on paper. So this is number one, like a pro and con. And then I give each pro and contra a scoring of 1 to 10. 10 is my worst case scenario, like kind of no, it doesn't work out at all, like red flag. 1 is kind of, yeah, I'm making up something in my head, but actually it's fine to accept this, right? So this is the private side. The same concept I'm using for the career-wise. I'm putting like my pro and con. Okay, if I stay scenario A, I stay at Binance, pro and con. Then scenario B, I leave and I go for AVM. Okay, C, I do something else. This is the very first, because when I had it in front of me, you have a clear picture. It's out of your head. It's really written down. And then the second exercise I did is like, I'm giving it, let's say, a priority instinctively, like out of the stomach. I'm saying, okay, what is the top 3 things of my con? What is the most important for me? And then I really make a circle on the top 3. And then also what I'm most scared of it, like the first 3. And then I circle them. So in the end, you have like a kind of like a sheet, okay, where you exactly see the top 3 priority and the worst case. And out of this, basically, you make your decisions. And my decision was then made like, okay, I really want this. I will wake up happy, like the private side. I get all the support. I have the runaway I need, let's say the minimum runaway. So that's fine. Career-wise, I feel I do the next step. You become more responsible. You're becoming a more role. You have, let's say, really a product which you own. You don't do it for somebody else, right? So, and this was the excitement where I was deciding, okay, it's time for me to go. I feel mature. I feel, let's say, ready to focus on something I really love. And the combination of having AI and tech still have the feet in crypto was for me the perfect scenario to say, okay, thanks for everything, Binance, but yeah, it's not more for me. Time comes, and yeah, the time came for me after this writing down, basically.
Really good. I think I heard someone give this example of, when you're trying to solve a really complex maths problem, it's probably best writing it down, even like with a big number, And he was like, with your life, it's actually very complicated. So to think that you can do it all in your head is a bit nuts. So writing it down, like you say, and actually being able to clearly look at each step and add weighting onto the decisions and priorities, and even that idea of writing down your deepest fears about what's the absolute worst case that could happen, and if would I be okay? Like, how does will I be okay in that? I think that's huge, and I think a lot of people a lot more people should write things down when it comes to whether
100%.
like they should stay or whether they should move to a next job.
Mm.
It's really good. And so now you're on the other side, and now
Mhm.
you're a founder or a co-founder with AVM, and
Right.
now you're actually trying to find people to bring into the team. What
Mhm.
is some of the challenges for you that you're facing now that you're on this side? Like, and what is it you're looking for when you're actually looking to make your hires,
Mhm.
whether it's now or hires that you can see coming down in the future?
Right. So I think this comes also back then to consequently continue what I was just saying. You need to do things. So starting with what I was just mentioning, like with writing down, this is also when it comes to new hires. I'm expecting really people. I know I would my basic hypothesis is nobody's perfect, right? You come to a new in the interview, we're already nice, the CV is perfect, everything. I don't believe in this. I'm a very practice and quantified person. Okay. So I would like to see doers. So to give you an example, if I search for an engineer, okay, let's say a developer, that's all fine. Let's say this kind of brainstorming or chatty phase of, I did this, I know that, etc. But this you can also know like after 1 hour chatting with GPT or reading some articles on blogs. So what I would like to see is execution mode. Okay. So are you really good in one thing and show it right now? So usually when I interview also people, I will ask them, what is your two strengths? Okay. And they will tell me X and Y. Usually I will make instantly in the second a business case or like a case study actually out of this strength. So if you are telling me, okay, I'm really good in, let's say, I don't know, cutting carrots, okay, like in real practice, I would tell you, okay, cut it now and show me. Okay, the same goes for, let's say, hiring at the moment. Somebody who's telling me I'm 12 years an engineer does not say you are a good engineer. I would like to understand how many hours you coded, how many projects you ship it. Show me the audit, walk me through. So share your screen and walk me through and show me what you do. This you can do in 10, 15 minutes. And I think this is really important for hiring because I had enough, let's say, situations where you hire and then you solve it later. So this is
Mm.
one. So practice over theory. The second is in our state, especially in AVM, being a co-founder and starting a new startup. So I had another startup many years before. And this is another lessons learned is start with senior people. So you need to start at this stage really with senior people. So it's very hard to get somebody in and to say, look, I'm going to be your mentor, I'm going to develop you, etc. It's just impossible. We are humans, right? Also, my time is limited. As a founder, you have like 5 hats and like 75 priorities which you need to go. So there is no time, with all my respect to, let's say, juniors, but later, yes. But at the moment, it's really you start with the top hires who are doers. So self-executive, somebody who can get with me in the 10 minutes brainstorming and end the meeting actively saying, look, Nick, we're going to do these first 3 points. I'm going to do it by Wednesday. And then I'm going to send you for a review and we have it by the weekend. This shows me where I say, yeah, even if this person maybe don't know the fully content, it's like a 70-30, but I see there is execution. There is really, let's say, a clear structured way to do it. So, and then the study or the content, it will come in any case.
I really agree on both those points. Let me just touch on the first one,
Sure.
sorry, the second one of hiring with juniors. I see it quite like with startups, what you have in your mind is I want to be in an elite army squad where everyone has their clear purposes. You've got the sniper, you've got the bomb specialist, you've got the maps guy, right? And everyone's there. And you don't want to be training someone on the job whilst you are literally just fighting for survival. And I
Right.
think this is one of actually the hardest things about Web3 is that there is just so many startups. It really is hard to break into the space if you are new and if you are junior compared to really well established spaces like maybe more Web2 or traditional SaaS where there is room to kind of like to have kind of juniors on board and space, whether it's like just mind share space for juniors to actually be able to like to tell them, hey, like we've got time, we can bring you in. um
Right.
but also I think rightly so is recognizing that there's actually a cost as a founder to bring a junior on, and not someone who's like a mid or a senior, because you are now like not wasting time, but you are just putting a lot of time and resources into a space where you're not going to see that instant return. And the reality is you've got a fixed runway and you need to make as much profit and as much growth in that time as possible. And hiring a junior is actually one of the biggest challenges we see. Is it's really hard to break into Web3 because of this dynamic that you're describing, which is I don't have time to bring and train someone up. As beautiful as it feels and as nice as it sounds, it is really hard to have juniors. And then on the first point around having two kind of key strengths, I think this is really important, the point you're making around if you are in the space and you are a generalist and you kind of do everything but just to a certain depth, it's going to be really hard to stand out. And so, especially in marketing, there's the T-shaped marketer, which is pretty common, which is there's so many facets of marketing, and you speak to anyone and ask them what marketing is, and they all have a different interpretation. But it's really important in marketing to have one place where you go really deep, where your knowledge will most likely outcompete others in the same space. If that's advertising, digital ads, or if that's even like outdoor advertising, or whether it is actually the social side or the go-to-market strategies or whatever, like this idea of going really deep and having a place where you feel confident and then being able to prove that and say, this is what I do, this is what I'm really good at. I think that's fantastic. And it's great to hear you say that, because I really believe that you can't be a generalist. You should have a general understanding of everything, but you should go really deep on an area that you are the most curious, the most interested in. So I love that you also share that. That's great.
No, this fully agree, because in the end, like, I mean, just to add small thing like junior, people are getting maybe with the terminology junior. So junior, I'm not speaking about age. It's exactly what you're saying. For me, somebody junior who is everywhere but nowhere, right? But if you have a vertical, even if you're 12 years old, but you are super good in putting content on the social media, then you're not a junior, right? So you're very good in your vertical. So yeah.
Really agree. Really agree. And I'd love to touch on, obviously, like you guys are playing in the AI world. And one of the things that we've noticed since 2000, in 2001, only 2% of engineering roles mentioned AI anywhere in their job descriptions. That, since in 2025, is now at 15%. So it's a really significant amount of just engineering roles in general now put as a explicit requirement understanding or explicit use of AI in their job roles. What has been the impact in terms of that you're seeing in AI right now, of AI on engineering, and how are you seeing AI really impact how you hire, and also maybe even the job descriptions and what you're looking for from your hires?
So yeah, on this, it connects a bit to the topic we just had, like with the vertical. So when it comes to AI, my view is the following. The stats you're mentioning are incredible. Like if you think about this progress, let's say from 2 to 15% is massive. So what I believe and what I do see is everybody who's generalist, let's say about AI engineering, will going to be replaced soon. So let's say you can see it already. They call it now vibe coding or this stuff. So when it comes to really hiring, I would say if you really would like to succeed in the future, I'm going to speak about the next 5 to 10 years, because this is the time horizon I could, let's say, guess or make a hypothesis which is reliable. Is as an AI engineer, I really would expect that you understand actually how to build from architecture, really from the source, okay, revised back to the front end, because the other way around is exactly what is already replaced by AI. I mean, it's like would be an illusion to say, okay, I start from my front end and then I see it behind. So this is really, I would say, the AI era at the moment when it comes to hiring. I would call it carefully boring area, because you kind of build up. Imagine you build up a city, right? And there is just greenfield. This is actually where almost AI is. It's not just greenfield, but somebody puts some streets, maybe some buildings, etc. But if you think now visually, you can't start with a fancy restaurant, if other things are not there. So this is where I'm looking for AI engineers. I'm looking for somebody at the space who's able to build with me, let's say, the streets, the first buildings, let's say the walls, like here around, etc. Before you come with this nice lamp, who, I don't know, maybe a designer did it somewhere in the world, right? So this is where really AI engineering comes. Okay, start with a deep, and go up. And this is where I see really great careers upcoming.
Really good. And what would you say, Nick, to someone who is not in Web3 at the moment? What advice would you give to them about kind of quitting their job and going all in on Web3?
Yeah, just do it. No, I'm joking. No, it's like I would say, no. It's like, so my view is the following. What I was saying before, put it on paper. I would really sit down, like stop the brainstorming in the second. So if you're watching your 55th YouTube video about career, should I go, should I not go? It's overdue. So put it down on paper or whatever you feel comfortable. Some people are more digital. Maybe I'm more, let's say, old school. But if you see things, just put it easily down and start. What is Web3? Because Web3 is huge. Let's be honest. Like you can put a lot of things under Web3. People will argue with me: is AI Web3? Is it Web2? Is it Web 2.5? Whatever. Doesn't matter. I mean, Web3. Just a brief explanation. What I agree with the definition is really it's like read, write, and own. Okay, so you really own your things you do. So this is the big difference of what falls under that. So if you should go to Web3 if you really want to own things, if you really want to become, as you mentioned before, Paul, is the vertical. Okay, if you really want to do, because the industry is super young, is super new. Okay, it's just started, and finally, after many years of, let's say, showcasing that there are good use cases, there are a lot of problems to be solved where Web3 is the solution. And you can do a lot of things. So I would really suggest, don't follow, I want to go in Web3. Follow what you are good in it. Okay. If the solution and the answer is then Web3 is solving it, that's fine. If the answer is no, something else is solving it, it's fine as well. I mean, we are more than 8 billion people on the world. It does not mean that you have to follow an industry. Coming back, what I'm saying, follow your strengths. Also in interviews, I'm asking, what is your strength? If your strength is not AI engineering, obviously I will tell you, don't do it. If it's your desire and you want to learn it, okay, learn it first, practice it, and then decide if it's a yes or no for you.
I think that's really important. That last point as well around just give it a go and practice it yourself. I remember for me, I went to kind of not break into, but just play around this space. So I built a DAO. I've kind of played around like creating resources, researching, that type of stuff. And it was really helpful in helping me understand more about Web3, more about marketing in this space, and then really helped me kind of make that decision of, okay, let me go in. But in terms of maybe in the next kind of couple of years, 2-3 years, what do you think are the biggest career opportunities? Specifically, if someone is coming kind of even contemplating, okay, what do I go train for now? I think maybe 2-3 years is going to be a really well sought after skill to help someone position themselves to potentially make the most money or have the biggest opportunity to make the biggest impact.
So there, I mean, I'd say two answers. So I would always say the first thought would be what jobs will not change too much and you still see them, let's say, of hiring in the next 3 years. So rather than, what will be in 3 years and I'm getting ready, because let's put it this way, you prepare 3 years for something and then surprise, surprise, something else comes. What do? You will say, fuck, I spent it of studying of 3 years to not do anything. So I would rather say, check the jobs which are probably not changing the next 3 to 5 years. So, and then if you ask me at my view in the Web3 space at the moment, jobs which are very important is really the community parts. So everybody who's directly speaking with users, with the community, etc., these people will be needed because you have a lot of education to be done. So if you receive questions, what is this project? Because everything is new. So if you're a good communicator, okay, this will something not change because you will always translate, like me, maybe before in the example, with the kitchen and food stuff to bring it. So we need a lot of people who can bridge a completely new industry. This goes then to marketing, right? How I promote it. Some people understand when I'm talking. Maybe some people will watch this and say, yeah, I don't get it. So you need very nice videos, visualization, being it pictures, etc. Now there are two paths, or you become a very good AI generator, okay, so to produce this videos explainer, or you do it by your own. So you're very, let's say, fine-tuning it. So there I see a lot of things. The third one would be, maybe I'm a bit biased on this, but everything what is linked to compliance and legal. So if you have already I would say, history on these two topics, you're the perfect person to automatize it. So you're in a very sweet point to really say, look, I stay in my domain, but I'm open to change things. So this is something, let's say, first to my mind, and then the AI engineering, to not repeat myself. So if you're an AI engineer, go read in the last layer of IT, okay, and start there. And I'm pretty sure that the next 5 years you will guarantee have a demand from a lot of projects. Like think about all the transforming, being it a bank, being it say some marketing companies, all they are transforming to automatization. So be the one who is automatizing, be the one who is the translator, the bridge, and you will very likely succeed on that front.
Really like the term you just threw out there, called fine tuning. And obviously, like the AI becomes even more powerful when you get really fine tuned, when you really kind of like provide the explicit context and really narrow down like the context window. And I feel like that's a great way of thinking about careers as well, which is the most kind of leverage you get actually happens when you start fine tuning yourself. You say, actually, no, this is everything I'm not doing. I'm not doing this. I'm not doing that. But this is everything I'm really focused on trying to solve. Maybe that goes to that T shape, the fine tuning. I like that. I'm going to steal that. And just to wrap up here, Nick, I'd love to know a couple of things. So, firstly, what's one thing you think people need to know about the world of Web3 that may be a bit hard to hear?
The one thing, it's chaotic. It's very chaotic in the sense it's a new industry. So especially if you come from maybe more traditional companies, okay, you would be shocked. So I would say there is like traditional, then there is startup life, which we know in terms of it's more unstructured, and then there is Web3. So just be ready that things are messy, they are not clear. You will find a lot of inside you whys, a lot of problems. But then it's depending on how you see it. So if I translate it, there's so many opportunities. So pick a problem, you really what you just described in a T shape. Pick one of these problems. So if you go there just to complain and be even more negative and so on, maybe not for you, right? So, but be ready that there is a lot of whys, a lot of problems, misalignments. So, but on the other side, it's the beauty of it because it gives you exactly the opportunity in this career to not say, there are already 10 managers in front of me. So here there is no manager in front of you. It's up to you to go exponentially straight.
In Chinese, the same word for crisis. I think it's crisis. Yeah, they use the word opportunity, and it's actually within the word itself. So I was
Okay.
thinking that with Web3, it's crisis after crisis. You're constantly moving from, you're
Right.
almost playing whack-a-mole with kind of things you have to kind of quickly put out. But like you say, there's a great opportunity in that as well, and it's important to kind of keep that. And kind of speaking though of not necessarily crisis, but what's ahead. And what's coming up. I'd love to know, what does the next kind of few months look like for AVM and with you, and what's kind of coming up on your side?
Sure. So let's start with AVM. It's the easier part. So AVM have a very clear roadmap, in the sense of we are launching our beta version next week, like on the 14th, and then we are shipping fast. So it goes back to what I was saying. We're shipping week on week base. So there is no promise of whatever. So we are targeting by September to have, let's say, a really running product. Okay. So developers can use this as a plug and play, which is great. So we are solving their problem immediately to not, let's say, lose the train on the AI development with long deadlines, etc. So this is on AVM, and we are growing. So on the team, we will now start coming also to the hiring part. Hiring very good people who are doers and who have their vertical. Okay, so we will be when we do our job descriptions, which will come soon, also on Bondex, to say, look, this is particularly what we do, and show me how you do it. So I would say this is on the AVM, fully product focus on that front. Personally, on me is to focus on this to get things done. Let's say to really follow up. So I think my role is really to get to new partnerships and to get to the users, to listen to the users and to solve their problems. So in this messy, I would say, environment, to listen and to pick what is top priority and what we also say no. Following everything is like following a hype of something, which is very hard. Actually, it's impossible in my view. So this will be on my side now, really over the summer. Summer usually cools down a bit also everywhere, but for us means we can more calm work really on the product with the goal to be ready by September. Yeah.
Awesome. Oh, yeah, it's a big few months coming up. It's fantastic.
Absolutely.
Awesome. Well, Nick, thank you so much for spending the time to chat with us. It's been really insightful. I've learned a lot, and I know that our community will really benefit from this. So yeah, is there anything else that you wanted to share or say before we kind of wrap this up?
Sure. No, thanks really for inviting. I would really say, guys, follow on Bondex and all this. There's a career opportunity. Do it, like really do it. And I think the best advice, actually, Paul, what you're mentioning, just start to join something. Being it a DAO, test the product. Stop from theory, education, thinking. or do it directly, or put it on paper, and you will find your way. I think this is maybe the one thing out of this. I hope that people would take this opportunity, if it's just a few, to make it happen.
Nick, thank you so much. We'll have to do this again soon, and
Thanks
enjoy the
as
rest of your
well.
day.
Thank you, Paul.
Thank
Thanks
you,
for
Nick.
having me. Bye bye. Ciao, ciao.